So, I'm a musician. I've been in the music biz for the last 23 years, and I've been progressively getting more and more frustrated about the situation in the industry, how fragmented it's become, how many incredible services are out there, but how we don't really know about how to find out about them, and how as an individual, not even just as a musician, I feel fragmented across all these different identities that I have, whether it's a social identity or a business identity, a collection society, a record label, my various Facebook account, whatever. I just feel like torn apart. So I've been aware of this technology called blockchain technology, which changed my life because I realised there's something in this which is going to help simplify all of our lives. How we're going to be able to directly interface with one another and be able to have less kind of complexities in business. So in the music industry, there are two things that I feel are really missing. One of them is an open songs database or an open works database where it describes every song out there in the world, whether it's recorded or not, who wrote it, who performed it, who the musicians, everything that you could need to know about a song in a place, or at least linked, and that people are able to find that data really easily. And then the other side of it, which is really missing, is a music maker database. So when you see, whether it's myself play on my own records, or me on Jeff Beck, or me as a writer on a new song that Ariana Grande has just put out, it's a cover of my song, or whether you see me as a kind of producer on a new Take That song that's just been, it's a new version of an old song called Rule the World, which I've done some kind of production and vocals and stuff on. So all of those bits of me, whether it's a producer, engineer, mixing engineer, writer, performer, I don't have a place where you can see all of that, where okay, so you see me in that song over there, but it might not take you to any other places because that song might not have that data in a database. So essentially, a music maker database, a songs database. That's what I want to realise. And what we're doing with the Creative Passport is slowly but surely, hopefully, organically, grassroots style, bringing to life a music maker database as we bring music maker to music maker online by verifying each other face-to-face with our QR codes, to bring something hopefully that the music industry will start to integrate with, use, so that we can start to author into and bring to life an open database of works. Essentially, so you see all the music services out there, and you may see my work there, but there won't be any way of those services talking to each other. I, as a musician, I am a connecting dot by way of my name, being involved in all those pieces of music, but I'm not digitally empowered to be that connective dot, to help the services talk to one another, to help flow of payment, to help verify information, or have an updated biography, for example, for Spotify or iTunes. There's no way for them to get that information from me. They're not going to independently reach out to everyone and try and get through email, our biographies. How can we make it really easy for services to be able to update their systems with current data about the musicians that they're showcasing on their services? So for Warm, for instance, that might be interesting. You may be able to have a profile page for each artist that somebody might, if you have a front-facing side of the business, so that if somebody wants to look at who you're working with and what artists have used your service, then you might want to know, okay, well, where do we get a biography about Imogen? We don't want to bother her. You'd be able to link directly into my Creative Passport and have my biography. Radio is so important. It's the mixture of news, things that socially interest you, things that audially or auditorily interest you, all mixed together in one. It's that I want to know what's going on in the world, but I also want to hear some music, and that combination is a magic combination. So many people listen to radio, but it's passive. It's you're in your car, you're hearing a piece of music, but how could we further enhance that so that if somebody heard something on the radio and they wanted to know what that was, you could Shazam it, I suppose, or you might sometimes with digital radio you can see who comes up. But how could we help the Creative Passport link to their songs, so that if somebody wanted to know something about that song, maybe there might be an app that somebody could build so that you could be like, okay, I'm going to type in the radio station, find out the song, and then find out a bit more information. Or it might say, oh, you like this music? You might have a little thing that says, I like this music. And it would say, oh, Imogen is in your town, I'm now in Copenhagen, and she's just playing 3 days from now. Would you like to see her? There just needs to be a better integration to all of the songs and data out there so that it becomes relevant to people when they need it to be relevant to them. Yeah, I think what we need to go more into is like integrated kind of multimedia experiences. So the value that radio has is, there are people out there, you hope, curating the playlists because they really love music. They're out there and they're really researching and finding the best of the best and trying to, unearth new pieces of work that people haven't heard, but mixing them with stuff that people have heard. And that's that's a very you have to have a real talent to do that really well, and that's very necessary. But also, how to be present in the space in the world with dialogue as well, and that is the mixture of radio, is that kind of chat and that thing. And I think we might start to see a mixture of that in streaming, where you start to see a bit of news feed come in, that you could set how much news feed you want to get, how much, you could kind of attune your listening experiences to, I want to hear more or less news, or I want to hear more stuff around the pop stars themselves, or I want to hear not anything about them, but I want to hear the music, but I want to hear stuff that's going on, in the fires in the West Coast or something right now. So, yeah, the thing about streaming is, at the moment, it's very hard to navigate around and really kind of find what you like. There's no real intelligent discovery kind of ways, I've found at least. I kind of get a bit lost and I just get a bit bored of it and just kind of switch it off. I don't like listening to music in the background. I like, if I'm going to listen to something, I really want to listen. So I think in time we'll see more individuals becoming, curators. We're going to have to need more human curation in the world, but combined with AI and algorithmic curation, maybe even something like, you might be driving in your car and your steering wheel, if we're still allowed to drive in 20 years' time, will be detecting your galvanic skin response or your heart ratio or whatever, your heartbeat, or it might be sensing that you're a bit fidgety in your seat. So it'd be like, okay, the car's like, she needs to listen to a bit more of this kind of music. And we know her because we're already hooked up to her computer and her phone, so we know her very well. So now we're going to feed in some of this radio channel because they're kind of sending out that kind of music right now. So it'd be very dynamic and spontaneous response to your own physical self. So I think, combination of how AI and, sensors and computer and getting to know you getting to know your personal computer assistant, mixed out there with how a song's being defined, like emotionally defined or temporally defined or spatially defined or whatever, weather defined. And then also the human touch, like how do you bring something when somebody really needs something? How do you train the algorithms? Or, I don't know, I was just thinking the other day, I was in the hotel just down here, and I kind of couldn't sleep in the middle of the night because I was trying to write a speech, and I came out to get a free apple out by the pool, and I looked down and there was this little pool robot, and it was going up and down, it was going like just cleaning the bottom of the pool, and then I could see it coming up to where people get in and out of the pool, and I could tell it was going to get stuck because it was just going to go up there and then it wouldn't be able to turn around because it's going to get stuck under the footrest. So as a human, I could see that, but as a machine, it didn't know what was going on. It was like, I must go, but it didn't know where to go, and it needed somebody to just go, oh, turn you around, So there's something about that, like the algorithms of trying to figure out what people are going to listen to, but humans can look at that and go, no, that's nothing like that, actually. You need to kind of do it a bit more like this. And so how can we teach? How can we work together to be able to find and unearth all that magic that's out there underneath that, like, millions of songs, and so much new music released every single second of every day. It's quite exhausting to think that even if you just listened non-stop to even just the music that's on Spotify, which is by no means comprehensive of all the entire planet's music, it would take you 170 years to listen from now, non-stop, if you didn't sleep, to everything on Spotify. And that's a lot of music. You're never going to hear that. So it's very important to have human curation. For many factors of this particular tour that I'm on, it's been very hard to figure out where to play, because it's not as simple. I know it seems crazy because that's my job, is I'm a musician, but I'm also like really into this at the moment, and so to kind of how to have more reach in this, I want to go where the musicians are. I know there's probably musicians in that city, but, or in that village or whatever it is. There's probably lots of musicians in the university. Yeah, in the past, like, it has been hard. It's been progressively harder to find out where your fans are, because before digital distribution, it was pretty like you just knew where your records had sold. That's where you go play, because there wasn't really. I mean, you might have, but only unless you got to a certain like height of fame would you ever like reach the streets of India or something in cassettes. So you didn't have to ever worry about that, like, unless you got to like Michael Jackson fame. But for me, it was like, okay, well, we know we sold that many in the States, we sold that many in Canada, that many in Australia, and that many in Japan. But then when digital happened, and I was looking on Twitter one day, I noticed like all these tweets in a language I didn't recognise, and I asked somebody, I was like, can you find out what they're trying to say? And there were people in Indonesia saying, please come to Jakarta, come over here and play. And they weren't actually talking to me. They were just like, we wish Imogen would play over here. But they weren't directing at me because they're speaking in their own language. So I thought, okay, well, let's see if we can get a gig. And just from those tweets, we found that we could get a gig in Jakarta for 10,000 people, and it sold out in like 2 weeks, and it paid for the whole Australasian tour, because we couldn't get those amount of people to go to Sydney, or Melbourne or wherever. They were all in Jakarta, but it's all because they were just downloading it free or whatever they were doing, because there's no Spotify there at the time. So yeah, it's how to find those anomalies. And again, another reason why I love what Warm are doing, and another reason why it's just, it begs for more integration between the services and the sharing of data and helping the system flow, because it's a combination of radio, but also streaming, but also what other music do people like of mine, but they may not know it's me. So they might like a Taylor Swift song, but they might not know it's me, and they might like an Ariana Grande song, but they might not know that song's mine, or 90% mine. Yeah, but Warm is, as we know, leading the way in generating that data for artists to be able to, see where their music is being played around the world and make conscious decisions or better informed decisions about where they want to tour. It could help to go to a promoter and go, look, here's all my, radio playlist data. Now, you may not think that anyone in Pennsylvania likes my music, but here is proof that the most played song, my most played song, is in this town.